cloud. Okay, good. All right, it's in progress. All right, hi everybody. Hi, we did it. I'm Monica Richardson. We have Evelyn.
Evelyn Picozzi.
And Evelyn's with us today with me. And today this is our episode 1 that's going to go up as a podcast / video where we are we're going to discuss chapter 5 of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And the reason that I'm doing it again is that there are so many people joining the Facebook groups. And if you're out there and you need support, you're leaving, you left, doesn't matter when you left, leaving AA, it's that simple. It's in Facebook and you have to answer the questions, and then deprogramming from AA or any 12-step group. Those are the 2 main groups that I have. And then there's an exposing one. So we're at the place where people come in and they kind of say the same things, Evelyn. You know, they're like, why'd you leave? What was the thing that brought you to that? And a lot of people are talking about a lot of abuse, psychological abuse and brainwashing, rather than it just being about what I made my film about, which was violent offenders and murders and sex crimes, right? So I've done this before on my Blog Talk Radio. And by the way, I'll put the links down below later. Blog Talk Radio, Safe Recovery. I have hundreds of podcasts that since 2011, I guess I started it. So what we're going to do is we're going to tear this up. We're going to look at chapter 5, which is read before every meeting, every meeting. And it isn't read in a normal way either.
No.
It's read in a strange kind of monotone kind of.
Yeah.
Way, right.
No affect.
Right. No affect.
Part of the initial programming that happens when you go to a meeting.
Right. And
they do everything the same every single time. It induces a trance.
That's right.
So it's part of that trance induction aspect of the program.
And this is why it can happen so quickly. And even after I was gone a long time, I think I've shared this with you already, which is I was like, okay, how does this happen so fast? And it was when I was listening to a show about how, say, ISIS or the groups get so brainwashed quickly that it isn't mental illness, right? With all the shooters that was going on in America, they would always say, oh, there's mental illness involved. And they're like, no, it's actually called brainwashing. And how quickly it happens. And it has to do with the we and the us instead of I and me. And when I saw this TV show that Morgan Freeman is the host, and he had on this expert about brainwashing. So let's just start. So first of all, for those of you who don't know this, the book is really old. It was written, AA was created in 1935, taken from the Oxford movements or the Oxford groups. And he took 3 or 4 years to write it, and it was published in 1939. And also when people, say that it was, proven with so many people, well, there were only 100 people at the time when he was writing it. Many of them, didn't stay sober. Not that I want to, that's not the criteria for me and Evelyn anymore about who stays sober, like in time. It doesn't matter. People have lapses. We're not into any of that language, but I'm just going to start here. And so the first line is enough. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. So you know what? That's not true. Absolutely not true. I know people who really did it. They did the steps, and how about you, Evelyn? They did what they were told, right? And they still.
I did it myself.
You yourself, yeah.
Myself.
Right. So the first one is like, and that's kind of a strong word, rarely, right? No, right. So well, that's not true.
I found the Orange Papers, the archive.
Oh, okay.
And he has information about that. He says it's a bait and switch. First, AA is a great success and always has been, and then AA isn't a success and never was. So he starts off with this, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. And then he goes, in the second edition of the big book, Bill Wilson bragged about the great AA cure rate of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried. 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25 sobered up after some relapses. Among the remainder, those who stayed on with AA showed improvement. So that's what he says, second edition. Then later, Bill Wilson revealed that AA was always a great failure. And this comes from Alcoholics Anonymous Comes of Age. You know that, remember that book?
Yep.
I think I read it.
It's pretty hard to read. I couldn't read that thing. It was so boring.
Well,
But,
yeah.
you know, I mean, that was
But this
so
is
dry.
what he literally says in the book. At first, nearly every alcoholic we approached began to slip. If indeed he sobered up at all, others would stay dry 6 months or maybe a year and then take a skid. This was always a genuine catastrophe. So that's Bill Wilson's words himself.
Well, interesting.
So first, it's rarely have we seen a person fail. And then when you get right down to it, you know, everybody fails. So
Wow. Yeah, good input. Okay.
So that's him lying. That's him lying.
Well, I guess he wrote it, didn't want to rewrite it. So those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program, usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves.
That is
okay. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not. No. So what they're basically saying, which is every cult says, that unless you give yourself completely over to us, which is a very different thing that people say to you in the meeting, right? So they say this in the meeting, and even though they're saying, well, take what you like and leave it, the people are saying that what's read and is being implanted in one's brain is
right at every meeting. Yes,
that's right. At every meeting, those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to the program.
And I used to say simple. There's nothing simple about it.
It doesn't make any
sense.
Right. No.
I got to completely give my life over to this simple. Trust me, it's not simple.
No, it's not simple
because there's so many lies. You know, one book says one thing and another book says the opposite, and you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's the lies are like right in here too. So look, so on we go. And usually this is the second half of that sentence. The part, usually men and women who are constitutionally, what does that mean? Incapable of being honest with themselves. So they're now setting you up that something at your core, at your constitution of how Evelyn's made up and Monica's made up and Joe and Charlie and whoever, that there's something that is broken. That they didn't use that word yet, but that's actual bullshit. Like that's complete bullshit.
I mean, it sounds to me like mental illness. I always thought they were talking about mental illness.
But also, I mean, okay, I get that there are people who like some
compulsive liars
who are raised in horrific, I mean, we're talking about really unique types, right?
Yeah.
They're hated from when they're in the mother, and the mother is unbelievably abusive and the child is taken. I mean, okay, granted, there could be people like that, but to the average person, no, they are not constitutionally incapable of being honest. And that's that whole part where they sit in the meeting and they say, what do you see when an addict, this is a terrible thing that they say, addict, alcoholic, when their lips are moving, they're lying.
Oh,
you never heard, remember that saying that was always like,
I heard that. Yes, I have heard that. It's terrible.
It's really terrible. Okay, there's
but you know what they could also be talking about here? I just got this thought. You know how when someone is drinking, and they're in denial. I don't have a problem. I stop anytime I want to. And I wonder if that's what he's trying to get at here, that, you know, that the denial. I don't have a problem. I can stop anytime I want to.
Yeah.
But then they never stop.
You know, it's possible. I'm kind of more like want to just go at it in a, like, what's here? You know, I mean, I think it's interesting what you found out in the very first line, because I didn't know that, right? What you just found on orange papers. And so if there's something else, that's why I wanted to have a conversation. I just didn't want to do this alone, so that if there's some other thing that you want to bring into it, we do that.
I just never thought about denial before.
Yeah, it could be. So then they're unfortunates. Now you're like a poor schmuck. They're patting you on the head. Oh, poor Evelyn, you're such unfortunate. You know, you're not at fault. Here they go again.
They're born that way. Okay, so here we go. So it's not a result of the compulsive drinking.
Right.
You were born that way.
You were born that way. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
There we go.
That's really bad. So let's talk about, I mean, that's disgusting. You were born that way. So lie number
one. Who's talking, right?
How many lies are we at now? Is it 5 lies or 4 lies?
He's no one to talk, right?
Right. Okay. They are naturally incapable. Here's some more of it. Same stuff. You are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Lie number 5, 6, 7. So
Already.
they're kind of, I've never seen it this way. I've done this many times, Evelyn, I swear to God,
Yeah.
on the podcast. And
Mhm.
I've never really seen that.
You
they're
did it
really
with Gunther. Remember you did it with Gunther?
Oh yeah, he was great. He was
He
great
was
with
great.
those. Yeah, he really had a lot of insight into it. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Okay, like it's kind of a repetition there.
Yeah.
All right. Now this type of living demands rigorous honesty. So let me think about how honest the people are in Alcoholics Anonymous. That this type of living. So now there's this arrogance, right? They're setting themselves up for that spiritual arrogance.
Right.
I'm better than even people who didn't have a drinking problem because
I'm rigorously honest.
Right. I never even saw like that before.
Yep.
The way I'm seeing it
Yep.
now. Their chances are less than average. Oh, there's not a good chance for us, Evelyn. We're
I
fucked.
know.
Your chances are less than average. There are those too who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they see a therapist or if they take medication, if they do
No,
it.
no, it's all about honesty.
No, it's all about honesty, right? It's all about honesty.
So now
Okay.
he's the great psychiatrist.
Yeah, he knows the answer to everything.
He knows the answer to everything. Yeah.
All right. Our stories disclose in a general way what we, really, you know what, a general way, the people in AA, they learn how to talk in a very inappropriate way. When you say like
That's true.
no generalizations, they start to really reveal too much stuff. They talk about intimate stuff in meetings.
Yeah.
They tell people they just met, right? So, all right, but
Well,
you know,
they have
maybe,
no boundaries. They have no boundaries.
what's that?
They lose their boundaries if they had any at all.
Okay, our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. If you have decided, so you have to decide. I remember this really being a weird thing with people. You want what we have and are willing to go where? To go into any length to get it, and then you are ready to take certain steps. Like, all right. Like
any lengths, and we all know what those any lengths are.
Like any lengths, like, oh, we're more important than your baby that's home, or that your husband's at home, or your or your partner, or your loved one, right?
Or your sponsor needs his car washed, or
you want to, do you have it in front of you? You want to read the next line or two?
Yes, our stories disclose, and you just read that. Some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely.
All right.
So there they are. They're getting people to stop thinking the way they thought before they came to AA. So, you know what I mean? Get rid of those old ideas, those old thoughts, however you thought before you walked in here, no more.
Well, I think that the setup of tough love that it developed later, and I don't know what came first. Was it Synanon, that abusive guy that started that scream therapy, and the whole the movement with the kids who went to rehab, and what did they even call it, rehab, where they did a lot of screaming at them, and tough love, that whole tough love thing could, you start to hear that the softer way didn't work. And even though Lois Wilson was very soft with Bill, she never left him, even though he cheated on her and had many lapses. With all of the earnestness in our command, we beg of you to be fearless. And they're begging, and you got to be fearless. All right, whatever. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil. Okay, but this absoluteness, right? So the extreme thinking and language. Like, did you ever read, there's a really famous book, Kevin turned me on to it. It's about cognitive behavioral therapy, where he really talks about extreme languages.
Right.
And that
it's not good.
no, it's really unhealthy. And
It's
I had a
really unhealthy.
sponsor. I mean, I even had a sponsor who said, stop calling yourself
Right.
crazy. Like you're
Right.
not
And when
crazy.
I went to Boston, you know, in the late 80s to AA, that's where I learned, don't use extreme language. You should never don't shoot on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Which stopped. I think there
It's
might
actually
be,
helpful.
right. There was some healthy, like, I mean, she was actually had a lot of therapy. She didn't talk AA to me. She shared her years of, you know, being in a therapist chair or whatever. Remember that we deal with alcohol. Now, alcohol is cunning. You know, where's the bottle? It's powerful. Okay, this is water, but it's cunning and it's baffling and it's powerful. Okay. Yeah.
It's a
No,
beverage.
it's not. No, and it is for, if you give that kind of power, if you're addicted to it, which you can become addicted to alcohol. I have complete respect for it, but it's cunning, baffling, and powerful. All right, not true. Without help, it is too much for us. So everybody needs help. Now that is not true. So I really, one of the things, because I don't know, are you a person of faith? I forget this about you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we both are, but what I lacked was the understanding for people who weren't. Excuse me, because I was raised Catholic and I actually did like the whole faith and the praying thing, but I learned from when I left, I really didn't until I left, to respect atheists and people who didn't.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And what about them? What about, don't they have a chance to, if they want to quit or they want to change their drinking or their drug use?
Yeah.
Why is it that it all has to be all this, right? Which is
Right.
why, you know what I mean? So, okay. And there's one who has all power. That one is God. Now, guys, I don't know if you could see this, but this is my old beat up book. But, you know, it's got one is God and may you find him now. You know, I heard they're going to change the pronouns. It's the only thing that they never change anything, but they're going to change pronouns. We'll see if they really do it. But, you know, it's very, very like kind of hardcore 30s, you know.
Right.
They say, you know, the broomstick.
What is it?
Yeah.
Stone and brimstone.
What is it? I'm sorry. What did you
Wasn't
say?
it stone and brimstone? Brimstone comes to mind.
Yeah, right. That's right. I can't. I didn't go to a Baptist church, so I don't know what that is.
Oh yeah, no, me neither.
But that's the saying. Half measures availed us nothing. Now this is really a big lie, because harm reduction, and I'm not talking about harm reduction for, actually was a word that was used for mostly heroin users, right? Harm reduction meaning they would give you needles, clean needles.
Right.
No, we're talking about any change, any positive change towards safety, changing how you drink, how much you drink, when you drink, is positive change. So the whole part of, if somebody comes and talks about this, oh, that doesn't matter. No, that's not possible.
Right, exactly.
Okay, I'm going to just start by drinking, you know, I want to only drink a couple of beers a day, and okay, I can get drunk once a week. Oh, no. But like,
actually, yeah, you can't even think about it, never mind talk about it.
So half measures actually do matter. And it's a really negative way, right? If you want to, if you make some positive changes, like, okay, I'm not going to drink and drive. That's a positive thing.
Absolutely.
We stood at the turning point. It's so dramatic. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. Okay, his protection is whose protection? This is God. They're talking about God.
Well, that's the assumption, right? I always assumed he meant God.
Yeah, they're talking about God. So God help the person who doesn't believe in God at this point. All right. We stood at the turning point and we asked again his protection and care with complete abandon. All right. Very cultish.
Yeah.
Once again, I have to completely abandon myself to, okay, that somebody, the argument would be to God, not to the group. But then they say, if you don't believe in God, you could do it to the group. Yeah, it's just not healthy.
No,
not healthy. No.
It reeks of cult talk.
Right. That's very cultish.
Yeah.
Okay. One, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and that our lives had become unmanageable.
Right.
Now, I didn't relate. Well, I want to say where I come from, and then I want if you would like to tell us too, Evelyn, where you're at with this, is that I didn't relate it all to the first line because I wasn't powerless and I quit on my own 2 weeks before I went to AA.
Right.
But my life felt unmanageable. Now, I wasn't living on the street. I was actually working when I went to AA. I had 2 jobs. I was turning 18.
No,
So my life really wasn't unmanageable. It felt.
it was typical 18-ish.
Yeah. All right. How about you? What would you say about the first 2 lines in step 1? Did you buy into that? Did you feel like you were powerless?
Well, I like you, I started as a teenager, and it became what we did. And I hung around with the other drinkers, and it was what we did. We got together and we drank. We got together and we drank. And
Right.
then by the time I was out on my own, I didn't know what else to do. What else do you do? I didn't think,
Right. But,
well,
I mean,
but I didn't do it all the time,
right. Did you get up in the morning and when you go in like
No,
this?
I got up in the morning, I went to work,
Okay.
and after work, if I had nothing to do, I would go to the bar. It was a social thing. It was
Yeah. So
how
it's
to
not
be around other people.
Right. So there are people that is the case for, but everybody is not a star in the days of wine and roses, right? Where
Exactly.
they're not chocolate. Like, I mean, that's such an extreme.
Or Nicolas Cage, right? In Leaving Las Vegas.
Yes,
Now,
yes.
There's one.
Yeah.
That's a movie.
Very, very extreme. Okay. So 2, came to believe that a power, which is capitalized, greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. So that means that now God is like a therapist or therapy.
Right. God is,
That's a lie. That's an
and of course, I remember when I first read that, I was like, geez, well, I'm not sane. You know what I mean? It's nobody's hopping up and down saying, there it is, yay. Now I know why I'm insane.
Well, I think we made fun of it. I remember a lot of us very young people, we were teenagers, were like, oh yeah, we were crazy, but crazy, fun, crazy,
yeah, exactly.
It wasn't like what you see now or what would come down the pike, but it was sort of but I'm seeing it now differently. As funny as many times as I've done it, Evelyn, is that, oh, okay, so God is restoring me to sanity now.
So Orange says, you might come to believe that licking truck transmissions filled with orange juice will restore you to sanity, will it? You might come to believe that slavish participation in a fascist cult religion will restore you to sanity, will it? And I like this, I didn't realize it, but he uses the word fascist cult religion. And he also uses that word for the Oxford group.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a new adjective for me.
Fascist.
Really?
Wow. And that paper, that's been up there a long time. Yeah. Well, it's very hardcore. We could look it up, the word, but made a decision. 3 is made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. And I have to say that when I first read this, as Catholic as I was, you don't do that. So I was taught that I had free will. How about you?
Right. Oh, yeah, free will.
And I think that's why Catholicism, the good part of it, grew, because you were not a puppet. I mean, who's the puppet? I don't know. Right. God is not up here pulling the strings, and I'm not like a marionette. Exactly. I have the choice to make whether am I going to steal that chocolate or I'm not going to steal the chocolate. I make that choice.
Right.
And I think that the way that this looks is very strange. And as I was leaving, those last years, I remember hearing that and going, yeah, no, this has really been taken out of context. That you're going to turn your will and your entire life over to the care of God. And how religious are you people? And they're not. Right. All the meetings you sat in, the pieces of
they're your friends, right? They're not your friends. You make friends with these people. Know them pretty darn well,
Right.
They don't seem to be turning their will and their life over to God from my perspective.
No.
I wish they would.
No. And even good people But the bad meetings where, say, the Pacific Group or with Clancy or people that have these spin-off hardcore sub-cult groups of Alcoholics Anonymous, you are calling somebody daily, which I never was a part of. I mean, that is, I said, when do you want me to call you? Oh, call me when you need me. That's it. Call me when you need me, right? You know, when you need to talk or whatever like that. But the other stuff is really, really bad. As we understood him, and that's where I think you get into paganism, where it's like how, and it's not I, right? Again, it's we.
Right.
This whole thing of how we, so
Our
it's an
will.
hour, no, there's no our will. Like, you know, that's really distorting reality here.
Well, it gets people to feel like they're part of a group, which it's human nature for people, you know, because no man is an island, right? So we all want to be part of something bigger than ourselves. So it appeases that aspect of human nature. And that's why it's such a hook.
And I think that I just watched, I had posted it, that video on loneliness with the little characters, where we need it as human beings, right? I mean, it's really a good example of how we need to be connected and how we're less connected because of our phones, even though we're so more connected, but we're more lonely than we were before because we actually picked up the phone and talked to each other and didn't text. But I'm with you with that. We want to be connected, but my belief is that yours, and if I sat in a group, even my regular meeting, there would be a handful out of those 45 women that I really connected with, like 5 of them probably, right? You know?
Yep.
Now these are the next ones that made a searching and a fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Now, I was very confused by this when I joined AA, as I was only 18, and then they showed me this ridiculous stuff about on page 65, I'm resentful at, and the cause.
Oh,
Mrs.
yeah.
Brown, the attention, and I was like, what? I'm
Mrs. Brown, remember Mr. Brown or something?
Mr. Brown, you know, and everything is my sex relations, self-esteem.
Oh, yeah, the sex inventory. Yeah.
Right.
I can't believe they do that.
Yeah, it was really sick. And
I mean,
said,
how invasive, how utterly invasive.
Yeah. You know what's crazy is that the pilot who I interviewed, who I'm putting that together, I'm going to put it up on YouTube. He said, one of the guys, the psychiatrist said, well, you know, how was that 4th step or something? Or, you know, what he asked him about, like his inventory, and like other people were going to, it just was crazy. I can't even like finish what I'm saying because it's kind of like, it's so nuts to me that pilots are subjected to having AA being forced on them in a way that it's some professional setting. And even if we get Smart Recovery, have you seen the Smart Recovery workbook?
Oh yeah, I've read it a couple times.
You know, yeah, it's such a great book. Like, it's really a program. It's like truly a program. This piece of shit, like,
it makes logical sense.
Yeah, this doesn't make sense. All right, 5, admitted to God. Okay. And I was like, okay, and how am I supposed to be doing that? Oh, yeah, you know, pretending there was a God there. Okay. Even I was Catholic, I had faith, but it felt like a little bit phony. You know, admitted to God, to ourselves, and then to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. Okay, so
it's sin in confession. It's a confession, right?
But worse, because in confession, you just say something, and then he goes, okay, you know, go say 12 Hail Marys and 3 Our Fathers. Not a lot of judgment.
Right. Because on the understanding that, you know, everybody does these things, right? It's part of life.
Right. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Now, I don't even see the point of that. Like, what?
I know, right?
Like, okay, and constantly calling traits that you have defects of character.
Yeah.
It's not your traits of who we are, it's your defects.
Right. So they attack people's character.
Right, that's right.
And you're guilty. You have it. That's what I'm saying. As soon as you walk in the door, you're guilty.
Humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. So now we have to get, you know, humble, and we're, you know, when I hear people in the news talk about, you know, being humble or humbled, I'm like, are they steppers, or, you know, they might be
you're right.
Hardcore, you know, religious.
I know they people. Love that word.
Yeah, they love that
so
word.
Humbled.
I'm so humbled by this. All right, 8 is made a list of all persons we had harmed
Oh,
and
God.
became willing. Oh, it doesn't say we make amends to them all. It just says we
Right.
become willing. It's almost
Right.
like you wanted to stretch it out to number 12, like the 12 apostles or something, you know, which I think is true that both steps 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 are kind of like this, you know, made a
Right.
list of all people and became willing to make amends to them all. And, you know, many people, including myself, you know, went to people to say I was sorry when they were like, why are you telling me that?
Yeah, that was my situation also.
You're,
And I thought the people that were closest to me when I
yeah,
was drinking were
yeah.
drinkers.
Ah,
Were drinkers themselves, right?
yeah,
Because we
that's
all
right.
hung
Me
around
too.
together. And so I
Right.
had my list of what the other person should be saying sorry to me for. You know
Wow.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was more focused on that. Well, you know.
Did any
And
of
my
them,
list is pretty goddamn long of what the other one should be doing.
did any
You
of
know
them
what I
get
mean? Because
mad?
that's what happens, especially when you're young, everybody's
Yes, when you're
drinking.
really
This
young.
one sleeps with your girlfriend, and this, you know what I mean? All that stuff happens. It's part of life.
That's right.
Part of life.
That's right.
Especially when you're young and you're drinking.
Right. And people do stupid things. But I mean, I even said things that people didn't know, and then that stirred up things, you know, and it made it worse. It made it worse. Yeah. It's like being honest at your expense.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Inducing guilt. It's designed to induce guilt, which is a cult tactic.
That's right. That's true. Okay, so now we're going to make direct amends to such people, except whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. And I remember Harry Lake, my sponsor's husband in Hawaii, where, you know, thus they were involved with doing some like local Hawaiian mobster stuff. And they were going to break his legs. Like they came up and the guy ran after him and said, get the hell out of here. Like, what do you know, he's going to try to make it right. And, you know, he almost got himself killed or, you know, really harmed by doing that. Continued to take personal inventory. And when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. This is the one that keeps everybody going to go. We're going to do this for the rest of your life. Like this is your maintenance steps. Bullshit.
Yes, that was the daily reprieve, right? Before you go to bed, who did I screw over?
Yeah, that comes later. So I guess we were similar. But you're sitting in bed obsessed with yourself. You're learning actually more self-obsessed.
Good point. Very good point, Monica.
Yeah, it's not healthy.
No, it's not healthy.
11 is sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understand him, once again, making up who God is, which you can't do. Like, so for me, it really became, I really bought into it at a level when I was young, but as the years progressed and I began to see that I began to feel like my God got smaller and smaller in my world. It was really a very odd feeling once I had 30 plus years and would try to pray in that same way.
Yeah. It's so limiting. Yeah,
very, very limiting. And then to make up, and I remember going like, wait a minute, they're like making up who God is. Like, and that's kind of, I guess, where I started to deprogram in AA when I started to think like that, right?
Yeah.
And praying only, Evelyn, now remember, you can only pray only for the knowledge of his will, okay? His will, not her, for us, and the power to carry that out. So that I have a huge problem with. You got a problem with that? Do you have a problem with that?
Yes, you shouldn't tell people how they should pray.
That's right. That's right. At all.
I know.
No. That's a good point. That's a really.
Although I do like the Our Father and the Hail Mary, but I was raised Catholic. You know
Well, I think if you go to a religion and you're going to learn their prayers, you're going to learn their prayers.
Sure.
If you're going to go somewhere that's supposed to be a benign support group.
Oh, yeah. It is not a benign support group.
Now they're going to tell you how to pray.
Remember, it's anti-supported.
Right. 12, having had a spiritual awakening. Did you have a spiritual awakening?
Jesus.
Evelyn, as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message. This is where they want you proselytizing to
Oh,
forever.
yeah.
You gotta spread the message forever. We tried to carry this message to alcoholics and practice the principles. Now,
All our
what I
affairs.
said is, well, what are they? What are
Right.
what are the principles? Where are they? And nobody knew, except like years later, I was like, what are the principles? Like
Yeah.
honesty, and what else? What
Right.
else, guys? So it's really weird that you would think that, what are your principles? And I think that's probably like, of a good person. What makes a good person would be
Right.
honesty and hardworking and
Integrity.
integrity, right?
If you're gonna do, you say you're gonna do something, you do it.
Your word, you're only good as your word.
Right.
Staying outside of the realm, I mean, we learned it as Catholics. You don't steal,
Right.
right? You don't sleep
Yeah.
with another. You don't
Remember
cover
the 10
somebody else's
Commandments?
shit, right?
The old 10 Commandments.
Yeah, the 10 Commandments, right? So you don't steal.
Which is
You
still
don't
popular
sleep with your
today.
neighbors.
Still a good way to live. You
Right,
know what I
right,
mean? Don't sleep
right.
with your neighbor's wife.
But that never is in here. In fact, what's in here is them telling you the part where, the part on page 69 where it says the ones that cry for sex and more sex,
Oh my
so
God.
this is where he's giving himself the out that
Oh, then we have voices about 6 more 6. Oh, wow.
where he says, well, we're just going to try our best. Okay. Suppose we fall short. Okay. This is where they want the out, where they want you to practice these principles in all your affairs, except when it comes to sex.
Right.
Suppose we fall short of the chosen ideal and stumble. Does this mean we're going to get drunk? And some people think so. It's only a half truth. It depends on our motives. If we're sorry for what we've done. So if I'm sorry that I raped you and you're a newcomer, if I'm sorry if I 13 stepped you or if I ripped you off, but I was really trying my best. So now it's the bait and switch of practice the principles in all your affairs. But if you do it, let's see, what does it say? I'm just kind of really glancing down here where it just says, let me see. It's only a half truth. We earnestly pray for the ideal, but it's something about that you're only a sick. Oh, come on, I'm forgetting it now. Let God be the final judge. That's what they do. Okay, there it is.
Oh, right.
Okay, so God is going to be the final judge.
I don't think I ever read this on page 69.
Whatever our ideal turns out to be, we must be willing oh my God, the words over and over again. We must be willing to make amends. We ask God what we should do about each specific matter. Where's God in this? I mean, God really has the kind of time he's sitting around while you're, oh my God, it's so fucking nuts. Okay, so here we are back to 12. All right. What if you haven't had a spiritual awakening? What if you're an atheist, right? And even
you know what a spiritual awakening is? A spiritual awakening is when you wake up and realize AA is a cult and you want to get out of it. Your mind expands. All of a sudden you have all this, oh my God, these people are crazy. Get me out of here. That's a spiritual awakening. We have them all the time. It's the expansion of thought. Your consciousness,
right,
gets bigger.
That's right. And I think that it's gets very narrow. And I know that there are people that will come into the groups and there are people that are going to watch this who go, well, it's good for when you're new and you need a little support and then you move on. And okay, I'm okay a little bit with if someone said, oh, that's what they want. They don't want, those who are out there listening, Smart Recovery is a big improvement over AA. And you can find it on Zoom. It's a real program. They have a great manual. But to say that, my dog is like, Blue, what's the matter? It's okay, buddy. He's like,
Blue, how old is Blue now?
He's 11.
Oh, 11?
He's 11 now.
I remember he wouldn't let me near him. Or you.
He was a puppy, wasn't he? A puppy or no?
The puppy, he was like, like,
Yeah,
okay.
he's much better. He's better
I
now.
was like, dogs always love me. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, no, he's a piece of work. It's all about the food. I mean, he's so
Oh, he's
protective, but it's funny. All right, where were we? I got so lost.
All right, 12, having had spiritual awakening is always.
Oh yeah, what you were saying is okay, that leaving for you was this big thing. But I was saying like, okay, so people who don't, oh, I know where I kind of got lost was that even if you did have a spiritual awakening, which I felt I did. So I quit drinking on my own. I go 2 weeks later, I meet these people. And that's another whole story about what goes down with the guys. But the decent guy who 12-stepped me into AA, I was already not drinking. So I was already feeling so good and just connecting with people. I began to feel kind of euphoric until the other guy hit on me and then started wanting to get involved, and it was not good. And then I went kind of down, down, down. And then, but then I got through it, and I worked all their stupid steps and played the whole game, thinking I was very earnest about it. But I began to become euphoric, and I was meditating like 3 times a day, like, I'm sitting, whatever. But even then, they don't like that either. So it's really interesting. They give people shit for not doing the steps right. Then if you did it right and you felt this incredible release, then they say, oh, pat on the head, Monica, you're on a pink cloud. Don't worry, it'll be gone.
Right.
Which is really nasty.
You can never be well.
Right, it's never good enough. Never good enough for them.
They keep raising the bar, yeah.
That's right, never good enough. Oh, it kind of sounds like my governor. No. There's never an opening. There was never a green light. Never mind, don't go there. Okay, many of us exclaimed, oh, what an order, I can't get through with it. Don't be discouraged. And here we go. No one, oh, this is the line they use when they want to be sexual predators. This is the one, Evelyn. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. Did you ever hear that?
Right.
That's it. We're not saints.
Right.
And so the predators use that one, and you go, okay, well, yeah, we know that. So what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Yeah, it's pretty nasty. The point is that we're willing to grow. You always got to be willing to grow. Grow, Evelyn. Just got to always be working on yourself. Just never stop. 10, 20, 25, 30 years.
We wonder how they got, that they're so self-obsessed.
That's right. And one of the big reliefs for me was when I remember getting divorced, and I've only had one divorce, and I had a pile of self-help books on my bedside, and he had none. Okay. And it was always, you don't want to go, whatever. And when I remember kind of going, I'm kind of done. I'm done working on myself. And I don't think we're done growing, right? And but I do think there has to be a point where you just stop it. Yeah. Stop that working on oneself, and go, you know what? I'm a 50, whatever I was when I left in my 50s. I had been working, trying, always, oh, well, what's my part in it? What have I done here?
Yeah, that's hard. Yeah, that's hard. That's one of the tough ones. When you always, something happens, like, oh, what did I do wrong? And because it's more human nature to say what that one did wrong.
Well, because
and then when you do that, though, you get filled with guilt until you deprogram.
That's right. And sometimes we do
want to blame someone else, and then you also keep yourself in toxic situations where you're not treated well.
That's right. Yes, that's right. That's a really good point. And sometimes there were things that I did, right? That are the reason that things are not, that someone's feelings got hurt, or I did something stupid. But there's also times that has nothing. Like the time the guy ripped me off that I met in the program, he said, oh, I'll help you get a car. Just give me the money and I'll go get it. I was like,
oh, wow.
Like, I mean, I think I was 22 and 4 years sober and very trusting. I mean,
yeah. Well, that's what happens, right? You learn to trust these people.
Yeah, you trust them more because you think they're spiritual.
Exactly.
They're not
spiritual buddies. You're fellows in the fellowship.
Oh my God.
All right, so here we are.
And then we go on to here. All right, so we got down to that point that was, about we're not saints. The point is we're willing to grow along. The principles we have set down. Okay, no, they don't have them listed. I mean, if
I
anybody,
know the principles.
yeah, I want to, if you're listening to this and you have any comments, criticisms about this video, I'd really like you to put it down. Please comment. You hate what Monica's saying, you love what Monica's saying, you contest what she's saying because of this or what Evelyn said. Please put it down below. And if there's a show that you want us to do on another topic or another chapter, another vantage point, we're going to be doing more of these, but please feel free to put them because everybody has an opinion. And I really think, especially the way the world is today, that you should be able to express it. Now, if you get nasty and put really nasty comments, I might delete them, but definitely, I think that the principles, when Evelyn and I were talking about that you would think that they would list principles, just good ones. We don't make them up. What is a good,
Right.
If we looked at Judaism and, Catholicism, that we know we shouldn't steal, we shouldn't lie, right? We shouldn't be sleeping with your best friend's wife, or, there's things that are, okay, the common sense things.
Yeah.
But there's no list. It's
Right, there's no list.
this, I mean, I don't recollect that there is, but anyway.
Well, I think that's a good point. I've never seen what the principles are either.
Yeah. So the principles we set down, and they're not, and we claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. And so that's what they use again when they are predators, right, of any kind, financial or sexual. Our description of the alcoholic, chapter 2, the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas. And the way they read this in a meeting, guys, that we were alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. Okay, so now we're alcoholic for life and we could not manage our own lives. The thing is, I'm sure as I'm a woman that they meant when you were drunk.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but AA has this whole, like, how rehab influenced AA, that it's like you can't manage your own life. Like you need every day to get up in the morning and
doesn't matter if you're drinking or not, you can't manage your own life. Right.
And that's
right.
And
you have that alcoholic personality forever. That personality that you may or may not have had when you were drinking.
And about trusting your own instincts, and the difference between, I think, what AA became in the 80s, or even AA forever, maybe in the Pacific group, was never good in this way. But when I went, you were told you should listen to within, like you're supposed to listen to your inner voice, not get a sponsor to tell you what to do, or, you know what I mean? Like they were not that dogmatic. When you came, had they become that way? Were you in New England, or where were you when the early?
I first went in Florida, and then the second time I went in Boston. And it really wasn't pushed, the sponsor thing. It wasn't really pushed.
It was still laid back. It was still laid back.
What I liked about it when I was in Boston was that the main focus really was on personal growth. And because I was in Boston, I got introduced to a lot of different types of religions. Buddhism and Sufism and Paramahansa Yogananda, and so I could go to all these, little workshops and whatever these retreats and stuff like that. And there's a place out in Western Mass where they have retreats, and that was, and then the people in the program were friends that you would either do these events with or talk to them about it with. So it really wasn't so hardcore. And
was that 80s? 80? What year?
Yeah, late 80s to the mid 90s. I actually left in the mid 90s. Left AA totally, mainly because I wasn't happy with the people I was meeting. I was like, I'd rather, you know what I mean? I want to open my world up to the normies, and
I think that
what other people are like.
People I think you see, or I saw in Exodus. There was that thread. Did you see that in one of the groups where people went to Landmark. I mean, like these were like spin-offs of S. I mean, like what Landmark wasn't a cult,
yeah,
but it was like,
yeah.
get people to join. Tony Robbins, like Tony
Yeah.
Robbins has a ton of AA people there because they're so used to doing stuff for free and being of service for free that I went to one when I left, and I was like, my son was like, this is like a rave for 40-year-olds, Mom. And I remember thinking, God, this guy has a lot of people on staff. There's a lot of people working. And I started asking them, and they're like, oh no, we do this for free. We do this to be of service. And I was like, what? What word? what place did you just come from? Oh, AA. Oh, okay, right. But that there are other things that people, when they got tired of it in AA, they either went to other 12-step groups as AA, had to keep growing and make other types. But they went to these other things, like Agape Church became filled with AA members, and so forth. Yeah. So
Course in Miracles.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. That's what people started talking about, though. The Course in Miracles, which I never took, but
I actually liked it.
Yeah. Did you? Yeah.
Well, because they talked about a book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You went to the meetings and you read the book, which is really difficult to understand. And we talked about the book. So I didn't have to like say, and I was treated as a person. I wasn't treated as, Evelyn the alcoholic with 2.5 years sobriety, with all those definitions of myself. I'm just a person. Everybody liked me. We read the book and we kind of guessed what it was saying. I liked it. I've been in some really nice houses going to those meetings.
Well, you know what I did that I liked, which was read other books. So there were New Age books that were really harmless, that were about affirmation. So I certainly needed affirmation.
I got them all over here.
Yeah, I have some too, and I'll show you. I threw out some, but the point being that there are other books that I read that were very helpful to reprogram my brain. One was called The Greatest Secret in the World, where you had to read these scrolls every day. They were just so, and you could replace it with, I'm the greatest salesman in the world, or I'm the greatest actor, or I'm the greatest person. And then it was really life-changing because I was reprogramming how I thought about myself. Right. And it was a very positive experience reading this book. But okay, let's go on. All right. So that we were alcoholic, you could not manage our lives. We find that we could manage our lives, and that probably is not a very helpful word. No human power could have relieved our alcoholism. So that is an absolute lie. An absolute lie. Most people help people. Right. And I know people who have been helped by other people in non-12-step outpatient places. You think about the people that did help you and I when we needed it. I had some really great women sponsors that were not, crazy. Like I hear these stories in the group and I'm like, wow, that is that is real. Not control that freaks. Yeah. And not that they might have given me, I think one of them never gave me any bad advice. And maybe one gave me only one that wasn't really, she wasn't pushy. That these people were just sharing their kind of motherly wisdom with me. And I don't see that. I think the last 20 years has been really, really bad. And so I think that no human power, and that the way they say it, for you guys who are listening out there, like say you're not an AA and you think, but I know so-and-so is famous and it helped him and so-and-so is famous. But to say that the way they say this in every meeting like this, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism. And maybe you have a child, an adult child who is having a problem, or you have a husband or wife with a problem, or you have a parent, and now you're thinking there's nothing I can do. No. That's horseshit. Yeah, right. Of course there's stuff that we can do. That's right. There is a ton of things that one can do to help another person. And you know what, on that note, I'm going to get this book. Let me see where it's called. Where are you? It was, what's his name? Jeff Foote wrote it, and it was called, see, now I always think everything is going to be right here in my little library of a book. It might not be, damn, where are you, book? Well, I guess, you know what, I'll put it down the link below. But it talks, he wrote it because he had a father who had a really bad drinking problem. And Jeff Foote started the Center for Motivation and Change, and it's out of New York. It's a non-12-step outpatient.
Oh,
And then as far as I know, they have like a really beautiful high-end place in the Berkshires for those who have money, who want to go to a rehab that has no AA. But the point being is that if you have a loved one who does, we can absolutely help
right.
by not pushing our beliefs as I was, the stepper pushing it on people, that you can absolutely be helpful to them and find them other resources. So,
Right.
okay, that God could and would if he were sought. Okay,
Right.
so back to God. And even if you believed in God, well, maybe, where are you, God?
Well, then he's saying it right there that only God can cure alcoholism.
Right, right.
Now we're finding out that I think too that alcoholism does not exist. It's a word that means nothing. It's alcohol abuse disorder, and there are different stages.
Right.
Not everyone is at stage chronic, stage 4.
Right.
And it's highly treatable, and it's not forever.
Right. That's right. And that people, well, I think that's another subject which I would love to talk about, is people who leave and drink successfully and drink moderately, or those that leave and don't want to chance it, or maybe they drank for 30 years, unlike me. I only, oh wow, the Blog Talk Radio is going to end soon.
Oh,
so kind of good timing.
Yeah.
But that even, yeah, I just think
that is a great topic. I'd love to discuss that.
Yeah, let's do that. I would love to have a couple more people in that. Maybe somebody who left and
because we need different opinions.
Yeah,
we
have somebody. I'm thinking of a few people that I know who left and completely don't want to touch it. And those people drank hardcore for a couple decades.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You and I drank for like 5 years. I drank problematically. Yeah. And also language. I would love to do an episode on language, right? Changing language, right? Do you have any other ideas of another topic?
What I think is good, what we're doing, which is to kind of try to band together people that have left so we can help each other, because everybody's at different stages, because it really did take me a long time to get that thinking out of my mind.
Yeah. So that would be deprogramming.
Yeah, the deprogramming.
Like, how about the 12 steps to deprogramming?
Rarely have we seen a person who is following our program.
There's some, I'm going to end this. Hold on. Okay, the podcast, I'm going to end this. This is on Blog Talk Radio. See you guys again soon. All right, let's see. All right. So let me just go to that. Let me just go there and I can end that. I think it might just end it. So Blog Talk Radio. Okay, it did it. It ended it. That's fine. Yeah, so that's really the 12 steps to deprogramming.
Here we go.
Number 1, take this.
Burn it.
Burn it. Throw it in the trash. Don't give it away. Just
don't give it away.
I don't like throwing away books, but this one I need so that we can do shows like this. But all right, so I think what we'll do, folks, is we'll do another show, and we'll get some other people, and we'll do one on deprogramming, one on, whether you to drink, whether people drink or not, and language is super cool. And here's one that I said in the Zoom yesterday that it really hit me the day before about joining something. Now, I had no intention of joining anything when I went to the first meeting, okay? That the way that they, the whole thing, like once you go that you're, no. I did not join anything. I attended a meeting, and then felt compelled and pulled, and the people, you know, telling me what to do, that after the first jerk who did what he did to me, that I could have just said, you know, get the fuck out of here. Like, why did I even go to another meeting ever? Why? Because I was already brainwashed. It was already hooked in, but I had knowing there was no like, and I even said like, well, do I have to, you know, pay money and join? That's how naive I was.
Mm-hmm.
How about you? Have you thought about that? About, you know, this sucking in of membership? You're a member. I'm an A, you know what I mean?
Well, I really bought into the idea that I had this disease, and that the remedy for this disease was to go to AA meetings. I bought into that idea.
Wow.
So that's, and I didn't know what else to do, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're, you know, 20-something-year-old living in Boston, how I ended up back in there, remember I started in Florida, how I ended up having a relapse was I started playing softball. I just was driving down the road and I saw women playing softball and I said, wait, let me go play softball with them. Well, of course it was, you know, one of the biggest gay bars in downtown Boston, right? So now, and of course the coach, it's like, you have to come to the bar. We're having a, what do they call that? You know, when they try to get money, a fundraiser. You have to be there. Everybody's going to be there. So now I'm hanging at the bar. Well, what do you think's going to happen?
Right.
I got a haircut, right?
You know, we talked a lot about this when I left, and, you know, you had already left and we talked. And I remember when I was studying at the Groundlings, which is the comedy troupe on Melrose, and I never would go to the bar. And I was already sober, like, I want to say almost 10 years, or I mean, my sobriety was very solid. I don't know why I just used that word, but
I know, right?
My soberness, my absence. But why didn't I go with them? And it actually created a problem because they were like, what is with her? Like, did they think I was a snob? It wasn't hip yet to be sober in 12-step. And I just didn't feel like I didn't go, but I didn't then connect, because that's where you make connection. And it is drinking is a social elixir. Like, that is very real. And
everybody does it. Trust me.
That's right. Except those who don't do it now and they think they're hipper. I mean, in Hollywood, you can see the ones who think they are better than others. There are people who are very humble, you know, to just use the word, that are not that way, that are stars, or that, and they're not that way. And then some that they are, where they think, I'm superior, I'm sober 25 years. And so, no. But it did hurt my experience there.
Right.
Because then you have to find somebody to do a scene with, and then you have to write your own stuff. And it was really, looking back when I was like, I really fucked that up.
Yeah.
You know, it was really kind of sad because I was in my 20s, and yeah, it's not good. I just think that it's it's too bad. But anyway, here we are now. And so, you know, we just make more videos to expose the sorry ass of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's my new thing. But we also, you know what? That brings me to another topic that I want to do, is about professionals that are forced. So I want to end on that, so that you guys can watch. Then one of the other shows I wrote down about 4 or 5 topics that I want to do, is that y'all should know that a nurse, a doctor, a pilot, a dentist, and a lawyer. The worst treated are doctors and pilots. Nurses probably next. Lawyers get it bad, but they are compelled, forced, coerced to go to AA in a way that the normal public has no idea and doesn't know that this is, and the way that an AA person who just goes to meetings on their own, they're not treated like that. They are forced, they are made to treat AA as if it were like part of a manual for, it's really disgusting. And it's
years, right? Like 5 years?
Yeah, for like 5 years.
Which is a long time.
5 years, 3 times a week. I mean, it's horrible. And these many people actually are, one, maybe just problematic for a short period. It's like a period of time in their life.
Yeah, like they had a divorce or something.
or habitual becomes habitual, or some have a problem. Okay, some people really did do stuff on the job. That's really different than most people that contact me. And they are forced, and now the pilots are forced for life.
Wow.
And if you won't play that game, you're not going to fly.
Wow.
And you better play that game. You better talk the talk. So that's, excuse me,
Yeah,
that's going to be a big topic, and we'll have some pilots here and, you know,
Oh,
people
good.
that will speak out. So thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you. Thank
for
you.
doing it. Yes, thank you so much.
This was fun.
That's fun. All right, we'll do it again.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
All right, Monica, have a good night.
All right, take care. Take care,
Bye.
everybody. All right, remember, leave your comments down below. Oh, remember, subscribe and like and subscribe and share wherever you think it's, this lighting is so bad, guys. I'll work on my lighting behind my head next time. All righty, take care. Bye.